We're missing our chair. He's on our way, so you guys will have to bear with me tonight. But I'd like to welcome everyone to the City of Hermantown Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for May 17th. It's currently 7:03, and I'll call the meeting to order. We'll go ahead and start with a roll call. We're missing Mr. Peterson, Corey Colquist, I am here, Valerie Roulette.
Here.
Samuel Clark.
Here.
Buckley Simmons.
Here.
Beth Winslow.
Here.
Dante Tomasoni.
Here.
John Geisler. All right, moving on to item number 2, approval of tonight's agenda. Can I get a motion on that?
Tomasoni motion.
Tomasoni with a motion. Can I get a second?
Simmons a second.
Simmons in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, moving on to agenda item number 3, approval of minutes from April 12th regular meeting. Can I get a motion?
Sam Clark with the motion to approve the meeting minutes.
All right, Mr. Clark with the motion. Can I get a second?
Willett, second.
Roulette second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, moving on to agenda item number 4, public discussion. Is anyone here tonight to speak on something that isn't on tonight's agenda? If so, would you please come to the front and state your name and address? All right, not hearing anything. Did I have to open up a public discussion or can I just move on? All right, we'll move on to agenda item number 5, public hearing. Starting with agenda item 5A, an application by Glenn Rudolph for a special use permit for the construction of 2,400 square foot storage garage to be located at 4282 Westwood Road. The property is located in R3 residential zoning district. Eric, what do you have for us tonight?
Great, thank you very much. This evening before us is a special use permit for an accessory structure that's greater than 1,600 square feet. It's located at 4282 Westwood Road. And what I'm doing right now is I'm putting up a location map on the overhead screen. This is a property in the southeast corner of the intersection of Arrowhead Road and Westwood Road. This is an R1 zone property, and the property is approximately 2.5 acres in size. So as we mentioned, the applicant is requesting approval to construct a 2,400 square foot accessory building. The dimensions are approximately 40 by 60 feet in size with 16-foot high sidewalls. The overall height of the proposed building is approximately 24 feet, with the construction type being slab on grade with a steel siding and roof. The building is going to be used to house the applicant's vehicles as well as personal belongings. No business activities are proposed nor will be permitted as part of that use. Right now what I'm doing is I have a location map put up on the screen here. So I'll use the pointer here. This is the applicant's home located right here. He has an existing garage structure approximately right here, with the location of the proposed accessory structure being in the crosshatched area right here. Essentially, he's on the corner of the intersection, and so he's meeting that basically that front yard setback area, which the way the ordinance is, it's essentially equal to the setback of the house that way. What he's proposing then is on the side yard to have a 24-foot height, or excuse me, a 24-foot setback. And per the ordinance, that side yard setback needs to meet the overall height of the building. So in both these cases, he is meeting the zoning code that way. As I had mentioned, this is going to be for personal use, not for any sort of business use activity that way. Here's a couple generic, basically, looks of what the building will look like. He has not finalized the actual detail, but as I'd mentioned, it's going to be basically steel siding that way with the steel roof associated with it. So with that, like I said, the setbacks do meet the requirements of the R1 zoning district, not only for front yard and side yard, but also for the maximum sidewall height. Maximum building height for an accessory structure in the zoning district is 35 feet. Once again, he's looking at 24 feet. So at this point, staff is recommending that the planning and zoning look favorably on this, and then it would go on to city council from there. But at this point, I'd welcome any questions or comments from the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Thank you, Eric. Do any commission members have any questions?
Sam Clark, not a question, but it is an R3 zoned area, correct? Not R, or is it R3 zone or R1?
It's actually R1 zoning. It's right on the edge of it. So it's over in R1.
Maybe just a note that on the agenda, it does list it as an R3. Other than that, no.
Okay,
questions or comments.
great. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Does anyone else have any other questions?
No questions.
I would move to approve agenda item 5A.
We have to do public discussion,
Yes.
correct? All right. All right, not hearing any other questions, we'll open the floor to public discussion at 7:09. If anyone has any comments on this, please come to the front, state your name and address for the record. All right, commission members, any last thoughts on this before I ask for a motion? All right, can I get a motion on agenda item 5A?
Move to approve agenda item 5A.
All right, Olet with the first, can I get a second?
Simmons with a second.
Simmons with the second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion passes. Moving on to agenda item 5B, an application by Jay Zierden Builders for a preliminary and final planned unit development for two twin homes, 4 units total, located on lots 4 and 7 on the Red Tail Hawk Addition plat. The property is located in an R3 zoning district. Eric, what do you have for us?
Great, thanks again. As you mentioned, this is a 5.6 acre site. I have a location map up on the screen right now showing this. If the Planning and Zoning Board remembers, approximately last August, the applicant came before the city to request, it was a PUD at that time, but essentially it was a lot split is what it was. It was an overall, it was like a 26 acre site originally. And the applicant did a lot combination as well as some splits to create 7 new lots associated with this. So at that time, it had been envisioned that these 2 particular lots, lots 4 and 7, could someday have a twin home associated on each one. So as the applicant has moved forward from that time, it became apparent that with the existing shoreland area, as well as a small wetland near the entry point, it made more sense to basically pursue what's called a common interest community plat. So in that case, you would have a shared driveway coming in as opposed to 2 separate driveways, which originally had been envisioned. So it's a little bit cleaner design than what the applicant had originally envisioned. Once again, it's a shared driveway coming into the roadway or into the site off of Arrowhead Road. As I'm pursuing it with the cursor here. And then there's the 2 locations of the proposed structures. One is located essentially running north-south, the other one is east-west. These are positioned as well for 2 matters. It's A, to basically minimize or avoid any wetlands associated with this portion. Vast majority of this property to the north is wetland area. And then there's also a shoreland setback associated with the unnamed tributary. That's actually going to be the next agenda item that we'll speak to. So in the process of clustering these 2 twin home buildings, the applicant's able to save over 2.8 acres of existing wetlands. And as I mentioned, those are primarily located right in this area of the site. This is an existing home that was the original 26 acres. And on the other side of that is a future single-family residential home right there. The applicant would bring in the public water and sewer main into the site. That's what this line is coming in here. That would terminate into a manhole, and then from that manhole, each individual unit would draw its water and sewer capabilities that way. With the CIC plat and the separate utilities for each one. The applicant does have the ability to sell each one of these units individually. This is a very similar type of idea to what the applicant has built down in Morris Thomas Road and Haynes Road. He has a small development right there of a series of 5 different twin homes and 2 3-plexes. But as I said, this evening, this is a planned unit development for 2 twin homes for a total of 4 units total on this total 5.6 acre site.
All right, thank you, Eric. Commission members, any questions or thoughts?
Nothing at this time for me.
All right, not hearing anything, we'll open the floor to public discussion at 7:13. Once again, if you'd come to the front and talk into the microphone and state your name and address for our records.
Excuse me. My name is Mark Romano, 5146 Arrowhead Road. My question, I have 2 questions. First of all, I was wondering, is this rental property or is this owner purchased property on the townhomes? And the second one is on the capacity of the sewer line, if this limits any other future development on the Arrowhead Road.
Eric, can you help us out with that?
Sure. As far as the rental property, actually, the applicant, Mr. Jay Zierden, is in the audience. If he may be, after the answer the sewer question, I'm going to look over to Dave Wolf, our city engineer. Maybe if Mr. Zierden can basically answer that rental versus sale aspect of it. The way he has designed it is there are ability to sell those because they have individual utilities on those. But Mr. Wolf, are you able to help us out with the utilities?
So the question is, with the added 2 twin homes, is there capacity left in the Arrowhead Road sanitary sewer?
Yes.
So this sewer gets pumped, it goes to a lift station, it gets pumped. I think that one goes to the east. So what we need to do is look at the capacity of the lift station. There's usually, when we design lift stations, you plan for future growth. And this is probably a question that we need to ask our public works director, because he's the one that monitors and has the flow data for the lift stations. But it's 4 units, that's 4 homes. The 8-inch gravity that's there has more than enough capacity to handle that flow. It's the lift station that we probably should take a little closer look at.
Sure. And in the case of the lift stations, we've had this in other instances where it may required some additional pumping just to service it that way.
Okay.
Because in the past, they had told us, not this group, but another group had told us that that line was limited on development. So I just wanted to make sure that if anybody had future lots, that they weren't getting blocked out by anything new coming in, so.
Well, thank you for bringing that to our attention, and we'll follow up with the public works director on it.
Thank you. Mr. Zinn, do you want to come up and you can address that question?
Hello, Jay Zierden, 4571 Martin Road. Just to answer your question, it would be the same type of scenario that I did on the corner of Haynes and Morris Thomas. It would be built for sale or lease, kind of market driven, for first come, first serve. Yep. No, it would be one or the other, for sale or lease, whatever market demand.
Thank you. Does anyone else from the public have any comments on this item tonight? Yep, if you'll come to the front and state your name and address.
Hi, I'm Jackie Van Valkenburg. I own the property next door on Gross Ridge Corner. 5167 West Arrowhead. My questions, I guess, is they have the Trout Creek back there. And what is it? There's a Rocky River Run. You heard of that at all? And I guess I'm concerned how close it's going to be to that. And then if anybody's checked with the DNR on this?
Yes, certainly. Eric, can you help us out with that?
Great, thank you. So this area is known, and that's actually going to be the next item after this, is a special use permit for grading and filling in a shoreland area. This area is there's what's called a recreational shoreland area associated with this unnamed tributary. This unnamed tributary, through some different zigs and zags and bends, eventually does run down to the Rocky Run in the lower portion of the city that way. So as part of that recreational shoreland area, it requires a minimum structure setback of 75 feet. And this application does meet that as far as the building setback. So as far as the DNR, we send information out to the DNR. I've not received any comments to date. This project still does have to go to the city council for their actual action. The planning commission on this item, as well as the rest of the items this evening, is a recommending board versus an approval board. So I will reach out again to the DNR to inquire if they have any questions, concerns, et cetera, that way. There are a number of existing homes in this area that are within that shoreland area. Most of them essentially have been grandfathered in. I do know when I first started here back in 16, there was a property that put up a garage essentially in the shoreland area. And so this is, since the 6 years I've been here, this is the first time that additional work has really happened along this stretch of that shoreland area.
How close to the property line towards the road?
And if you guys wouldn't mind, we'll have discussion afterwards. But yeah, thank you guys for your comments there. Eric, thank you for the response.
Yeah, exactly too. And if there's any other specific questions, if you can, since we are recording this and it's on Zoom, that if people can approach the microphone, just so people at home can hear these conversations as well.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any additional comments tonight? All right. Not hearing any, we'll close the public discussion at 7:21. Commission members, anything else? All right, not hearing anything. Can I get a motion on agenda item 5B?
Sam Clark, I'll make a motion to approve agenda item 5B with a recommendation to verify that the lift station can handle the capacity.
All right, Mr. Clark with the first. Can I get a second?
Winslow, second.
Winslow, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion passes. Moving on to agenda item 5C, an application by J. Zierden Builders for a special use permit for grading and filling within a recreational shoreland area associated with an unnamed tributary for the purpose of constructing 2 twin homes, 4 units total, located on lots 4 and 7 on Red Tail Hawk Addition plat. The property is located in an R3 zoning district. Eric, what do you have for us on this one?
Great, thank you. And if you don't mind, I'm just scrolling across here so I can everyone try to see what's going on here.
Eric, do you need your stuff back? Here we go.
Technology is good, but sometimes it takes me a little bit to get going on these things. So this is the second part of this same project this evening. As we had previously mentioned, This lot is within a recreational shoreland area associated with that unnamed tributary to the Rocky Run. So this map that I have up right here, this dashed line is a setback associated with the physical structure of the homes that way. This piece right here, this is actually a small deck that is allowed to encroach into that area. And there may also be the ability that that could be a patio. In that same case, it's not viewed as a structure as far as the city goes. So the physical building structure is outside of that 75 foot zone that way. So what you're seeing in this cross-hatched area, and I'm trying to point to across here, that's the full extent of that shoreland area. In all of our shorelands, what it is there's a 300-foot setback or boundary associated on both sides of a creek. And in that shoreland area, there's additional requirements if person is going to undertake any sort of construction activity, whether it's building, whether it's grading, whether it's filling that way. So what it requires is that they have tighter time constraints on having the ability to have open soil, because we just don't want to have erosion or any soil matter going into that unnamed tributary that way. So as construction activity becomes dormant for a couple of days or so, that we try to get the basically erosion control in place, just once again, so we are able to protect that not only that creek but also the wetland that's on the periphery of this property here as well.
Perfect. Thank you, Eric. Commission members, any discussion or questions for Eric here?
What is the dimension that we're talking? How close is it to the structure itself approximately?
Well, there's a 75-foot building setback.
Right.
Yes. And then the actual shoreland area is 300 feet on both sides of the creek.
Okay,
So there's quite a bit of swath of existing homes in that whole area that are actually within the shoreland area as well.
Yep.
It's a fairly common occurrence throughout our city that we have.
okay.
Eric, what is the circle there, kind of in the driveway area?
Right in this area,
Yes.
that is a wetland, small wetland area right there.
Okay.
So if you recall, when the applicant is attempting to get that driveway more on this side of it to really minimize that impacts associated with that wetland right there.
All right. Anything else from the commission? All right, not hearing anything, we will open the floor to public discussion at 7:25. Once again, please state your name and your address for the record. Not hearing anything, we'll close the public discussion at 7:26. Commission members, anything else?
No questions.
Not hearing anything, can I get a motion on agenda item 5C, please?
Thomasoni moves to approve agenda item 5C.
Thomasoni with the first, can I get a second?
Simmons with a second.
Simmons with the second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Mr. Chair, you're back. With that being said, I barely got us through, but I'll pass it back over to you. We are on agenda item 5D.
Thank you for that. I've got technology loading here. Let's get the top sheet. Thank you very much. Okay, 5D this evening is an application by J. Zierden Builders for a preliminary planned unit development for 8 lots of twin homes, 8 units total and 21 single-family lots for a total of 29 lots on a 33-acre site located at the northwest intersection or northeast intersection of Morris Thomas Road and Orchestrum Road. The property is located in an R3 zoning district. Eric, what do you have for us on that one?
Great, thank you. So I've got a location map up on the screen right now. Mr. Chair, if you can turn your mic on, please.
Oh, it is. I think I'm green.
There we go.
There we go.
And I've just been cued by the back room to sit closer to my microphone as well, so. The man behind the curtain is helping us.
That's right.
So yes, what we have this evening, this is a as I mentioned, it's a preliminary planned unit development, the PUD, for the construction of 21 single-family lots and 8 twin homes for a total of 8 units. This application is taking place over 3 properties associated, as you can see on the screen here. The large piece in red, that is currently owned by the applicant. The area in orange to the north, that's what's known as Outlot A of the Valley View Division plat that was platted back in the early to mid 90s. And then to the north of that, there's what's called city right-of-way. That's a 66-foot right-of-way that was envisioned at that time of the plat for a Carlson Road extension. This application did come before this board in June of 2021. At that time, the applicant was proposing a through road to Carlson, and that's located along the top of the screen that way. So what that did is that provided access, continual access, as well as a continual sidewalk running from Morris Thomas throughout the site all the way over to Carlson Road. Back at that time, Planning and Zoning did recommend approval from a 4-3 vote, and then it moved on to the City Council at that point, which was approved for a 5-0. So once again, back in July of 2021, this project had received preliminary approval of a different scenario, same number of lots, same number of units, but it had a different roadway configuration. The applicant has been looking at this further through the last months and has come forward to the city to propose what you see on the screen this evening here. What he's doing is, once again, the same layout that he had before, but in this case, instead of a through road going to Carlson, he's proposing to terminate that roadway in what's known as a hammerhead. That's on the north portion of the property there. At that point, the sidewalk would also terminate. There'd be only work going in that Carlson Road right of way would be the water line. That's the blue line that you see right here. So there's many different parts. There's going to be 3 different essentially steps this evening associated with this project. The first thing that we're talking about this evening is the preliminary PUD. Moving on to that will be the preliminary plat, and then finally there'll be a special use permit for it. So I'll just talk a little bit about this application before us this evening, what the applicant is proposing. Basically, the water is coming from Morris Thomas. That's this blue line moving throughout this development or proposed development, and then heads to the north where it loops back into Carlson Road. At that point, it's basically a looped water system, which is beneficial as far as the water pressure associated with this area and with the development. As far as sanitary sewer goes, the applicant is proposing on taking it the bottom portion of the screen adjacent to Keene Creek, running it in this large, about 12-acre wetland area through here, and then moving its way towards the east, where it then hooks into the actual roadway associated with this project. So what I also point out here too is the number of lots associated with this. This area is zoned R3. The developer is proposing for a planned unit development, which are allowed in any of our zoning districts. The rationale why he was looking at a planned unit development, there's a couple aspects. The first was these lots along the top here, lots 1 through 13, those are a little bit smaller than the R3 required lots. In an R3 zoning district, it's a 1/2 acre lot size. These are a little bit smaller. These are coming in probably around 18,000 square feet. So just, under half of the acre that way. So that was the first part associated with this planned unit development. The second part was by pursuing this PUD, the applicant is looking to construct 4 twin home buildings in this portion of the site right here. It's located in the interior of this actual site per se. It's basically bordered on both sides by the roadway. And once again, it'll be building 1, building 2, building 3, and then building 4 associated with that. So the planned unit development also allows for the mixing of different housing types associated with it. The remainder of the lots in this development, these lots basically on the other side of the curve in the road, at the end of the cul-de-sac, as well as these two lots on this side, as well as the lot that's going to take frontage off of Okerstrom. Those are all at least a half acre in size. So once again, the planned unit development allows for the ability to look at a different, configuration of lots, different type of products associated with that. In this case, it's a mix of single family home and some twin homes associated with it. If you recall, being the planning and zoning, we went through a brand new planned unit development ordinance last year. And a big portion of that planned unit development was the requirement that a project show a public benefit associated with that project. Now, in the case of the previously approved project that had the through road and the sidewalk going out to Carlson, that was viewed as a public benefit. The fact that we had a connection road that could benefit the health safety for any emergency vehicles coming through here. It allowed 2 points of ingress and egress to this development, provided a better traffic flow that way. And then also the big thing is being that continual sidewalk. Not only did that sidewalk serve future residents of this subdivision, but it also tied into Johnson Road, where a person on Johnson Road or the surrounding neighborhoods through there could access that sidewalk, move throughout this proposed subdivision, and then connect into the city's trail system just on the south side of Morris Thomas. So with this new application that's before us, with the termination of that through road into a hammerhead, as well as no sidewalk being proposed there, that the developer is lost that public benefit aspect of it. That it's just, everything is just tied internally into this development that way. So given that, staff is not recommending this project as seen before us this evening. Staff is recommending that the original approvals from last year continue to move forward with the through road onto Johnson, with that continued sidewalk system going through there as well. As you realize from reading your staff report, there's been a lot of discussions on this property and in this project. And staff is looking at a potential alternative. Once again, it's not a recommendation, it's just a potential alternative. In lieu of that construction of the Carlson Road extension and that sidewalk, that the applicant instead construct a 10-foot wide paved trail running from Johnson Road to this hammerhead area. That would be a 10-foot wide trail paved with gates on both ends of it, similar to what you see on our park just to the south there. In addition to that, as part of his sanitary sewer work on this lower portion of the site, that instead of backfilling with the native soil material, that he actually provides clean fill associated with that, and then a gravel surface. That gravel surface would run the length of the sanitary sewer and then connect up to that hammerhead. So what that would do then is that would essentially create a combination of a paved and a gravel surface trail that now does provide a public benefit for this potential project that way. Once again, that is not staff's recommendation. Staff's recommendation is to proceed as we had been approved last year. But this is a potential alternative to that, should planning and zoning wish to consider it.
Thank you for all that, Eric. Commission members, any questions or thoughts or comments on this before we hear from the applicant and from anybody else that would like to speak this evening?
I do have a question regarding the sewer line. So if I understand you right, the applicant would have to put gravel the entire length from Morris Thomas all the way over to the Carlson Road for that whole sewer line? Is that what you just said?
It's actually, essentially, yes, it's gravel from Morris Thomas to that hammerhead on the west side. On the east side of that, what's in that known as the Carlson Road right-of-way, that would actually be a paved section through there. So that would be approximately 500 feet of paved surface running from Johnson Road to this hammerhead. And then at that point, it'd pick up another plus or minus 2,000 lineal feet of gravel surface running down towards the south and the west, where then it would essentially align with the city's trail to the south of that.
Okay, so I guess I'm not clear, why does that need to be done with the hammerhead solution opposed to if we did the Carlson Road option, then you would not have to do that gravel for the sewer line?
That is correct.
I
That is
guess I
correct.
don't
It
understand.
would be our preference that he did, but at this point, we're essentially offering an option A or an option B. That A is the construction of Carlson Road and the sidewalk as previously approved, or B, in order to have a public benefit, that he construct the things that I just spoke to.
And I guess, Eric, to follow up on that, so the green line running across this screen is
Yes.
where there will be a path of some sort,
That is correct, yes.
all the way up. And, okay, so is this something, a solution? It just seems, I guess, a little different to me that we would require something like that when we already had a solution that worked. Could you speak to that a little bit? Why did the plan change, I guess?
What did the plan change as far as the hammerhead, you mean?
Correct.
Or believe that the applicant, through, as we all know, that there's been a number of residents that are concerned about Carlson Road punching through. And I believe in, basically, Mr. Zierden was at these meetings. He heard a number of the residents speak. And he has looked at that further, and that essentially is his response to what he had heard from the neighbors at that time. But once again, we have an approved project already on this. And what the applicant is doing is he's gearing it back. He's essentially proposing less than what's already been approved. And so that was staff's thoughts was, if he's going to go the less route, then he needs to provide that gravel trail surface as well as that paved trail surface. Because once again, we have an approved project and he's trying to do less than what he's been approved for.
Okay, can we have him speak to this? I guess that's a huge expense to a developer. And getting back to, the city, our intention when we met a year ago and went through all this is we wanted to end the dead ends, and here we are creating one. So I guess I'm just a little taken back as to why we would be doing that after we went through a lengthy process saying we wouldn't do this anymore.
Sure, exactly. I think maybe what we'll do is go through the rest of any questions from,
Yeah, we'll see if any of the commission members have any other questions before we hear from the applicant this evening.
Simmons with a question as far as how many of these hammerheads are in the city right now?
how many hammerheads?
Yes.
There's very few. Traditionally you see these terminated in a cul-de-sac.
Right.
Versus a hammerhead. When this was first shown to the city, we spoke with Public Works and they said, if this was to happen, a hammerhead is a little bit easier to maintain versus a cul-de-sac.
Okay.
Just be able to back in and out that way. And once again, I'm going to kind of gear back more to Mr. Colquist's comments. Like I said, we're talking about with the staff recommendation, because they said, yes, we went through a lot last year. And in our ordinance, there's three specific sections within our ordinance that directly speak to through roads. The big one being is permanent cul-de-sac shall not exceed a length of 500 feet. And this obviously exceeds that. This is probably more in the means of clocking in around 900, almost 1,000 lineal feet. Now, are there other cul-de-sacs within the city of that length? Yes, there are. But in a lot of those instances, where we have the ability to is we require that there's a future road stub that subdivision could access land adjoining it. And that's what had happened when the Valley View division was platted, is there was this open section of land through here, and Carlson Road Extension was platted at that time to be able to get into the interior of the site. And so 25 years later, can't do my math, but yeah, 25 years later, that's when that opportunity came to connect the dots in a plat that was envisioned back in 96. And once again, that, you know, there's 3-4 different instances within the ordinance that support why a through road should happen versus another cul-de-sac or a hammerhead.
Thank you.
Commission members, any other questions or conversation on this before we invite the applicant to come up and see us?
Mr. Chair, I just have a couple of comments. Just reminding everybody, when this was approved, it was tied amongst the commission, and I cast the deciding vote. Since then, I've thought a lot about this. I've listened to a lot of the neighbors' discussion, talked to Mr. Zierden, and Mr. Colquist, you asked why. I think the biggest reason why is hearing from the neighborhood, that neighborhood doesn't really, they don't mind the development, but don't want this extra traffic. We talked about the added benefit of the trail. And I think that the hammerhead is a good solution. I've kind of, a year later, been rethinking this. I think the hammerhead's a good solution. I do think the connecting link from the hammerhead to the Johnson Road is a good idea. Paved trail with the gates. I think we've all seen how nice that trail is. The gates would be there for an emergency vehicle, etc. I'm not totally sold, and I'm only one of 5 city councilors. I'm not totally sold on the gravel trail portion. We have applied for some grants for that work, so there is possible some other funding. Again, we got option A, B, or maybe there's a C, that we do the hammerhead and the connecting link to the Johnson Road. And maybe there's some shared use or something with that, the backfill of that, rather than putting all the backfill onto to the developer. Maybe there's an option there for, it's too bad we couldn't get grant money right now to help do that. But I guess long story is that I've kind of backtracked on my thought of a through street. And I think Mr. Zierden came to the council and told the council what his intentions were. And I think the council is largely in support of that. Again, I'm one of 5. I know I am, and I think there's a couple others that are. So just as you're thinking about that, again, a recommending board will go to the council for final approval. So, and I think, you know, Eric's point of we had a approved project. Well, that's part of the preliminary and the final, is that there's some time to rethink it, listen to the neighborhood, et cetera. And I think the neighborhood has spoken, and I think we're going to hear from them tonight again, that I think in general, I think they like this. And then the last thing with the hammerheads, it's ironic that we are, as a city, going to take out a bridge on the Lindahl Road and create 2 hammerheads on the Lindahl Road. So it does happen. The city is doing it. So again, just kind of ironic that it's all happening. That project will happen. The bridge is closed, but possibly the hammerheads will be built next year in a more permanent solution. So it does happen. So that's just kind of my thoughts. And as we were, so maybe there's an option C, that we do the hammerhead and the trail to the Johnson Road, and then maybe try to let the city and the developer work out some sort of a shared agreement with the rest of the sewer line. I have one last question for Eric. Does that sewer line come out is that matching the trail that's already constructed on the other side of
It's
Morris
fairly
Thomas?
close. What we would do is, and once again, we'd have to look at the engineering, because obviously it's meeting at an angle.
Yep.
If we have the ability to come in
Yeah.
flatter or a
Yeah.
straight line that
Okay.
way.
All right. So those are my thoughts and comments on it. So.
Thank you for that. Commission members, any other questions or comments before we?
I was happy to see this. I do think that the paved trail is necessary. I think that that's a minor expense in some ways. I know it's not in dollars, but to help the city, but on the other hand, we do have a lot of neighbors that are important too. And that's part of what some of the give and takes of some of these things have to be, as long as we're meeting them, most of the criteria. I really like the idea of the hammerhead there, and then eliminating the idea of having as much going on to the other road. That's difficult. But I think that the paved trail would be very good for the community, at least.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, kind of going off what Counselor Geisler said. Going back to part of the original problem with the Johnson Road issue is that road was rebuilt in 2020. And it was rebuilt extremely narrow. So in a sense, we've kind of created our own problem here, because the whole community in that neighborhood feels it's unsafe to have the additional traffic on that road because that road is so narrow. So in looking at that, to now, and then a year later in June, last spring, come and say, okay, now we're going to add all this additional traffic on this narrow little road that we just built, seems kind of like not a really great plan. I think the addition of the hammerhead is a perfect solution. It'll be attractive. There'll be a nice trail there. It'll be linking to the new development. But I too kind of question why the whole sewer line would have to be the developer's responsibility to gravel over it for the trail all the way out to Morris Thomas. That if he didn't have to do that before, I don't understand why he would have to do that now. But I think to the fact that the whole community, 100% of the neighborhood did sign a petition against the original Carlson Road design, I think this is a great compromise if they're willing to go along with us on that. Trying to be representing the city adequately as well as the residents.
Yeah, just to kind of take off Valerie and Mr. Geisler, I personally remember being impressed with the community response and the petition with, I believe, unanimous support on Johnson and Portland Road, not to stop the development, but to be able to work and come up with a compromise. They did provide a lot of detailed information, such as the road was undersized. They had information from St. Louis County showing that the road isn't appropriate to serve the amount of vehicles that it would. They were willing to meet with the developer and meet with the city. I agree with the sentiment that I don't understand why the gravel trail would be appropriate. I would be supportive of the paved trail connecting Johnson and the Hammerhead. If it was not opposed by the residents and they had worked with Mr. Zierden. The expense of the gravel seems almost kind of arbitrary at this point, since I think from a maintenance, longevity, et cetera, might not make the most sense. I do agree with Mr. Geisler that if you could work in the future towards some sort of grant and maybe pave that or make it part of the trail system, that could be a public benefit. And then I also would just like to say I've been on the commission now for over 2 years. I had the opportunity to sit on a meeting that was locally televised with community opposition. And I've never seen the city not recommend the citizens of Hermantown working with the developer to come up with a compromise. That just personally was a little bit interesting to me.
Thank you for those thoughts. Anybody else? Mr. Belford, Jake, to speak on this at all as the city engineer on the hammerhead option versus the road going through?
So planning commission, at the staff level, we've had multiple discussions about this project. And, you know, I really echo what Eric has said about the road going through, and for a number of reasons. One is the commission and the council in the mid-90s had the vision that Carlson Road would go through and serve this property. Two, per our zoning code, we have 3 reasons to support the road going through and not, you know, not creating the cul-de-sac or a hammerhead option. Third is there's approximately 30 homes, and, you know, if you generate 4 to 6 trips a home, you know, you're about 200 cars, 200 trips. In my estimation, and the county traffic engineer's estimation, we would estimate 80% of that traffic would go to a Morris Thomas Road. So you're adding, you know, 20% of 200, about 40 to 50 cars spread out through the course of the day. And in my opinion, Johnson Road can easily support another 40 to 50 cars throughout the day. In discussions with the county engineer, the traffic engineer, excuse me, he had great opposition to allowing a connection to Morris Thomas at all. He wanted it to come off Okerstrom and to Carlson. And after his further discussions, he kind of, you know, softened his position on that. So, you know, I know this is, you know, very contentious on what we should do here. You know, at the staff level, we're holding with our recommendation, but Eric, you know, presented an option that based on the comments from the commission, it feels like that may be the path that we're going. And if that's going to be the recommendation of council, then we're okay with that. So I guess I'll leave it that if there's, you know, any further questions from the applicant or the public, I'll be here to help answer their questions.
Thank you very much. Commission members, any other questions or comments before I invite Mr. Zierden to come up?
Practically speaking, why would anybody take Johnson Road? I'm looking at the map out of this. Maybe to the north, like, because Carlson goes right to Haynes, right? So that'd be the fastest. No. No. I should. That's why I asked the question. That's why I'm asking the question.
Maybe not.
Okay.
Shut it down.
Mm-hmm.
Can you get Google Earth?
I don't want to lose control over the meeting this evening yet, but yes, that is, you guys are right. That is not where that road ends up. That's for sure.
Okay.
Mr. Zierden, I guess you're up next. Come on up, Jay. State your name and address for the record, please. Tell us why you're looking at making these alterations to your already approved plan.
Just to be clear, our proposal is what you have in front of you. It's a development with a hammerhead. It's not a development with a hammerhead and a trail or compacted fill, okay? The city from this project will collect $45,000 in park and recreation fees. It will collect more than $50,000 annually in property taxes. If the city wants a paved trail they should use those funds to do that trail. If not, they could give me those funds for the next 10 years. I'd be happy to build the trail. But to be clear, my proposal is with the hammerhead, period, not building trails, okay? There's not part A, part B. If you guys aren't interested in this project, it goes on a shelf. Maybe I sell them in 8-acre chunks and walk away from it. But it's not a hammerhead in a trail or a hammerhead in a road. Our proposal is a hammerhead, period, as you see it. If you've read any building journal or article on barriers to affordable housing in the state of Minnesota in the last 5 years, it is very clear that cities and municipalities are adding costs to developers, which is a main point driving costs for housing. And this is a clear and glaring example. Let's have the developer build a public trail. It's absurd. I don't have anything else to say unless somebody has any questions.
I do have one, Jay, and that is, I mean, it was approved last year with the road connection. Why coming back with the hammerhead now? Just because of the neighborhood?
Yeah.
Okay.
Honestly, that road is, I didn't really look at it, but not only is it narrow, the ditches are cliffs. If you're walking a dog and need to step off for a car, it's not even possible. So go look at the road. It's not just narrow top. The ditches are ridiculous. They're absurd. So I agree, adding any traffic to that road, it's unnecessary. It does nothing for my project, and it hurts all these people. So if we can make everybody happy with this, let's do that.
Commission members, any questions for Mr. Zierden?
Sam Clark, no questions, but I do appreciate your willingness to work with the residents.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. We're going to open up the floor at 7:59 for a public meeting. Anybody who would like to come up and speak, please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Tony Marino, 3760 Johnson Road. First of all, I'd like to thank Jay Zierden for submitting an alternate plan and all the council members' comments here. It's kind of music to our ears as a neighborhood. I think it's a perfect example, as I told you last month, of a developer listening to the needs of the community and adjusting his plan so that all parties can be happy with the outcome. I also agree with everybody that just said the cost for the trail shouldn't be put on the developer. You know, right now, in fact, going back to what Eric Johnson was saying, the city has been planning this trail system since the mid-90s, enough so that they put a easement across the back of a lot of these properties here. So this has been in the works for a long time. And through that whole process, the city has applied for grants to cover the costs of these trails. And if the city is going to try to transfer that cost to Jay Zierden, we all know how that works. It gets transferred to the people that have yet to buy the lots. You know, when you put all the other costs that the city is charging, you know, park delineation fees, bedroom fees, you know, hooking up sewer water, you've already probably put $25,000 under the cost of a lot and making it very expensive to build in our city. I believe you all had a picture put up on your thing there. Those are pictures I took this winter of the trail as it goes south off the Morris Thomas Road. That trail was plowed beautifully all winter long. It doesn't get the traffic. All right, they did a great job on our road all winter long, but the hiking trail or multi-use trail was clear as can be all winter. If you look on the left-hand picture there, you can see that at some point the city came in there with apparently a very large vehicle with a wing blade and winged the furrows back, you know, to open it up for future plowing. That tells me that they have the confidence that that road is able to handle heavy traffic. So I think Mr. Colquist asked why this change now? Simple, because at the first meeting last June, there was no other options. You know, all the discussion of how it was gonna be was done between the city and the developer. And quite frankly, the developer was being told that he had to put the Carlson Road extension in by the city staff. It's not something that he proposed, he was being forced to. He's heard our pleas and he's re-examined it, and he's come up with an alternate plan that ties in very well with the planned city trail system. In fact, on the city website, it shows section 7 to be paid for by future grant monies, not by Mr. Zierden or by transfer future residents of the city. So I'm here to ask you to approve Plan B, as it's called, without any conditions.
Thank you, sir. Would anybody else like to please come on up and state your name and address for the record, ma'am?
Hi, I'm Lisa Smith, 3761 Johnson Road. On behalf of all of the residents of Portland and Johnson Roads, I'd like to thank Jay. He heard us, he paused, and he rethought his design for the planned unit development that he's proposing at King Creek. Jay heard, and it's important for all involved to remember that every household of Johnson and Portland Roads signed this petition last summer, asking that the extension of Carlson Road not be included in the PUD. By signing the petition, which was presented last summer, we were asking to be heard. Our roads had just been reconstructed, resulting in a narrow 20-foot wide road for Johnson Road and design and safety concerns for the curve at the Portland and Johnson Road junction. Last summer, I shared data from St. Louis County's road design standards for plats and subdivisions within St. Louis County. That data estimates that a subdivision of 21 to 30 units will produce a traffic impact of up to 150 cars per day. And that road must meet the minimum design standard of 24 feet wide. That traffic is the traffic gain that we're trying to avoid for our newly constructed and narrowly designed 20-foot road, which unfortunately does not meet minimum design standards for our own neighborhood. In essence, the new development could double the traffic count for the Johnson and Portland roads. So the city wants a life safety solution for the King Creek planned unit development. We as residents suggest that by taking the grant funded segment of the Munger Trail Spur, which is already planned to be located at the corner of Johnson and Portland roads, and moving it to the Carlson Road easement, the city gains the public safety solution for its emergency vehicle access. Also, by moving that segment as it's now planned away from the currently planned location and moving it to the Carlson Road easement, you remove the danger to pedestrians who would utilize that section of the trail, since it won't be located at the dangerous junction of that Johnson and Portland Road curve. Creating a trail rather than a road eliminates what would be a double traffic load to our neighborhood. It preserves safety, it saves overall cost, and it even enhances both the King Creek planned unit development and the Johnson Portland neighborhood. Everyone benefits from this simple shift in a thought process, which is a common sense solution. Current residents, future residents, and the city gain by this solution. We're asking that you vote yes to Jay's revised King Creek development as he has submitted it. Thanks for hearing me.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Would anybody else like to come up and speak this evening? Sir, please come up, state your name and address for the record.
Yes, my name is Bart Smith, 3761 Johnson Road. Actually, it was 27 years ago when the Valley View plot was designed. 26 years ago, Lisa, my wife, and I were working with the city, looking at that and what the vision of Outlot A was. And I can tell you what the city told us then. It was so that A lot was not landlocked. That was the envision they told us. We built our house based on that information. I just want to say I was very happy to see the modification application that Jay submitted.
The city is stating the local resident neighborhood only is concerned with Carlson Road extension is about the increased traffic. However, with the increased vehicle traffic, there's a concern that real issues are that our daily health and life safety is at risk. We all know that our road is created at a 20-foot width, and the deep ditches are a risk for walking on that road. The King Creek Trail subdivision currently proposed by Jay meets the requirements that a PDU must provide public benefit to the surrounding neighborhood. The Carlson Road extension recommendation provides no benefit for our existing neighborhood. To support this statement, please reference the petition opposing Carlson Road extension submitted last year to the city. Please do not negatively impact the health, life, safety of our neighborhood by requiring the Carlson Road extension be built. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please come up, state your name and address for the record.
My name is Jim Sandberg, 3789 Johnson Road. Hello, commissioners, members, City Councilor Geisler, and Hermantown officials. I'd like to start by reading from Chapter 11 of the City of Hermantown Zoning Code Planned Unit Development, specifically Section 1105, Public Benefits. A PUD must provide public benefits to the surrounding neighborhood and to the city above and beyond what it can be reasonably achieved by application of the zoning provisions applicable to the underlying zoning district. I'd like to say that the Carlson Road extension doesn't bring any benefit to Johnson and Portland Road. If that, I mean, other than the more traffic and wear and tear on our 2-year-old road. I have heard from this commission that it would make it a better neighborhood and good for the city. I would like to strongly disagree with that statement. I have heard it's a safety issue, but we as a neighborhood have done our research on that and find that new development would be just as safe without the Carlson Road. I have heard utilities and services as a reason for the Carlson Road extension. I think if cul-de-sacs and hammerheads developments are built by the city codes, the utilities and city services should have all the access that's needed. That's the way we need to build those. I have heard it would be better for the new residents of the development. I would like to disagree with this also. The cul-de-sac and the hammerhead keep streets and sidewalks safe for residents and children, and also create nice, quiet, safe neighborhoods. We have had the opportunity to visit with Mr. Zierden and Mr. Weeds, and the Carlson Road extension didn't seem to matter to him or them if it was put in at all. I also have heard about making all new developments in the city have an inlet and outlet. I personally think that each new development should be looked at individually, as it would be best for the future residents, the existing residents with connecting roads, and what's best for the developer in the city. I know of 3, if not 4, city officials that are pushing the Carlson Road extension. The residents of Johnson and Portland roads have signed a 100% petition, which you've heard, against this extension. If the residents don't want it and the builder isn't for it or against it, why would city officials and commission members be pushing for it? I did hear some reasons from Mr. Bull. With access to the new city trail from Johnson Road and the new development, what benefits does the Carlson Road extension have other than increased traffic and safety issues on the small, quiet Johnson and Portland roads? A neighbor of mine, Kathleen Johnson, lives at 4721 Johnson Road. She's 80 years old and doesn't drive much and doesn't have access to a computer. She had called me and asked me to speak on her behalf, if I may. May I?
That's absolutely fine, sir.
Okay. She has signed the petition and wants to know if Hermantown city officials and commission members listen to the people of Hermantown anymore, or if they're just interested in more tax dollars. To me, Mrs. Johnson sounds like she hit the nail on the head. When there are only a few city officials pushing the Carlson Road extension, she said she is strongly against this extension also. I would also like to thank Mr. Zierden and Mr. Weeds for taking the time to visit with us on this issue. We wish both of them well with their development. Also, thanks to all of you who are here tonight for listening to our concerns. And I hope that these concerns will help you make a just decision on this matter. And one more thing, on the 30 to 40 cars or 40 to 50 cars a day, that's a lot on Johnson Road. That's a lot. I know the road can handle it, but it's a lot on our road and we don't want that traffic. We're gonna get some anyways from that development. It's gonna come on Morris Thomas and turn on Johnson anyways. People do it all the time. They use it as a shortcut from Haynes Road to Morris Thomas Road. So I live there, I'm out there a lot. I see it now. I would sooner not have any more traffic on that road. So I thank you all for your time.
Thank you very much, sir. Anybody else this evening like to come up and speak at the microphone? Come on up, please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, I'm Joe Pike, 3729 Johnson Road. My question is actually regarding the acreage of the lots that are kind of along the east side there, behind my property. How large are those lots? They're less than a half acre, I heard, but.
That is correct. They are less than a half acre. I want to say they're approximately 16 to 18,000 square feet.
And what is that in acres? Is it like a quarter acre?
No, 0.4 plus or minus.
Okay.
Just quick math.
Sure. I mean, my concern is, I'll admit, a little selfish, that my view behind my house is going to be a wall of identical looking houses packed as tightly together as you can in undersized lots. And if I had one issue with this development beyond the Carlson Road, because if given the choice between, a development with the Carlson Road extension and a development without the Carlson Road extension, I'm absolutely going to pick the one without the Carlson Road extension. But the development in general irks me in that way because I don't understand the methodology and the logic behind allowing that development to go in with the undersized lots. Why have the rule in the first place is my concern. That half acre limit just seems arbitrary and completely ignored. And that's frustrating because it is going to very much change, what I see when I look out my back window. It's going to be different, and different isn't always bad, but in this case, I think it might be bad. That's all I have to say. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else like to come up and speak in the microphone tonight? Please come on up, state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Jake Perry. I live on 3779 Johnson Road. I'd like to thank Jay Zierden for working with our community. I think it's pretty impressive to me. I haven't been a part of a lot of these meetings in the past, other places I've lived or here, but to see our community come together and put together what they have and to work with the developer, with the city, I think that's pretty encouraging. And I think it would mean a lot to see this approved, to kind of reiterate that working with the city, that they care about what we're saying and what we think as a community. I agree with all the statements that my neighbors have made previously, but especially the traffic and, like was stated, how narrow the road is and steep the ditches are, like Mr. Zierden said. My wife and I have a 21-month-old son, and we like to walk on the road quite a bit. And if you've been on this road before, it's kind of a road where if you're driving and another car's coming, you have to slow down and kind of move over because there really isn't enough room. And if you look at it when there's snow on there, or if you got a UPS vehicle driving down the road, it's even worse. So to add even the 40 or 50 cars of traffic, which I also don't agree with, I think it'll be more because people are cutting through there if they're coming from the mall area. That's going to be a lot to put on the road that's already undersized. Something also, I guess, that was noted that was kind of discussed amongst our community was how there was a 0.5% sales tax increase that would be coming for the city, partially to go to trails. So I think that, along with the grant funding, would really help fund that a 10-foot wide trail for the emergency egress. Another thing to look at, if you look at the trail that's planned by the city, to use the grant funding to develop. Right now, they have the trail access coming up to the corner of Johnson Road where it curves. And if you actually walk down there and look at it, it's pretty much a steep drop off that goes down quite a bit into a swamp. And if you're looking at it purely from a city cost point, I think it's pretty clear that extending that trail instead of at that point to give access, but at where the egress would be for the Carlson Road extension would be quite a bit cheaper for the city as well. So that's all that I have to say there. I just think this is a great compromise that is all benefits with no downside, and it's listening to everybody and coming up with a good compromise and showing that it matters to engage with the community and with our local government. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Come on up, please state your name and address for the record.
Darren Weeks, 3960 Peyton Lane. The first thing, the question I got is it seems to all come back to Johnson Road when that was built, and it was underbuilt. So I think this is dealing with Johnson Road being underbuilt. That's the main thing. If it was built even to the specs that we're doing in our development, this is a different story. And I just want to say, like, being a local guy, and Jay, it's if we were from the Twin Cities, this road would be going through to Carlson because we wouldn't care. We care about the residents and what they want. It's a good project. But as a developer too, we're sick of getting nickel and dimed. It's hard to do this stuff. And that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Would anybody else like to come up and speak this evening? Sir, please come on up, state your name and address for the record.
3775 Johnson Road. I just think this is a great example how community and city and neighbors and contractors can get together and come to a conclusion that works. I think this solution that Jay came up with and his team, it covers everything. It covers the access in and out of Johnson Road if it's necessary for police, fire, whatever that may be. And that was a big concern early on in discussions. There's access in and out of that neighborhood onto Johnson Road, foot traffic, that sort of thing. I just think this is a great solution and an answer to everybody's issues there. So I just want to say thanks to Jay for coming up with what he did. And thank you all for hearing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Anybody else this evening like to come up and speak? Either for or against the proposal we have in front of us? Not seeing any, I'll close the public hearing now at, sorry, I got a technology issue, 8:21 p.m. Commission members, any other questions or comments or discussion about this? Mr. Bolf, if you have any discussions, you're welcome to join us.
Mr. Chairman, I would just like some clarification and reminder about the land swap. I don't think we talked about that tonight. Remind us about the land swap and how that affects both the city and the developer.
Yes, thank you. I'll use this map here initially. So the city owns this approximately 2.5 acres of land right here. That's Outlot A. What the city, when they're first approached by Mr. Zierden on this, was there may be the ability to extend his development to the north, utilize this Outlot A for that purpose. Now, the city has different means of doing that, whether it's a purchase by a developer, whether it's a land swap, different means that way. Through the conversations and the nature of the design is there's a 12-acre outlot that essentially exists through here. And I apologize because I'm having troubles getting the other plan up right now. So in the staff report, it speaks to the city swapping their 2.5 acres of land for that 12 plus acres of land here. That 12 acres of land, under that outlot scenario, right now it has the existing Keene Creek running through it. It has a good portion of that is encumbered by a 300-foot shoreland area. There's going to be at least 3 stormwater ponds in there, and predominance of wetlands as well. So you may say it 2.5 for 12 doesn't make sense, but when you look at the actual potential buildability of that 12 acres, it's a little bit harder to use. So at least that's what is being proposed. Should this development go forward, there'd be basically actions by the council approving that land swap of the city-owned property for that outlot associated with it. Does that answer your question,
Yep,
Mr. Geisler?
yep. I just don't recall that we talked about it too much and that the developer is gaining some buildable area with this land swap.
That is correct, yes.
Yep. And then the other thing is just remember all of the work we put in on this PUD requirements, and the big component was public benefit. We talked about parks, playgrounds, all of those things. So just think about that. And to me, I know the developer doesn't want to do it, but I still think the connection from Johnson Road in is a good, if not a trail, a sidewalk or something, but public benefit is what the whole idea of the PUD that we all worked quite hard at. So those are my comments.
Thank you, Councilor Geisler.
And I just want to echo that too. And Mr. Sandberg, I believe, you kind of hit on it as well, as it talks about overall public benefit. And that's what initially that sidewalk connection provided as well. And so the applicant is proposing does not have that piece. So, I mean, if P&Z somehow was supportive of his application as is, that, to meet that public benefit component, overall public benefit, there should be some kind of connection going down that Carlson Road. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Mr. Wolf, I just have a quick question as well, just from my own curiosity. If that hammerhead was to be built, let's say as it's proposed, could it potentially someday go through?
Absolutely. As long as the right of way exists, is not vacated, it would have a, potential to go through.
Yeah. So if it became a need, or, you could prove that there was a need for that road to go through, it could be added at a later date.
Yes.
There's also a very large parcel that they could sell to a developer that would want to put that road through. The parcel to the west, 3770 Okerstrom Road. I mean, so that right of way is still going to be there, and that road could go through at some other time.
And John, if I could pick your brain real quick, it might seem a little strange, but I think there's other developments in the city that have been designed with the future in mind. It might be 5 years, it might be 10 years, it might be 20 years before the neighboring property has been purchased and the road has been extended, so to speak. I mean, even in my short time of planning and zoning here, which is 11 or 12 years, something like that. I mean, I've seen multiple projects come before us. One would be my neighborhood was built in sections like that. I live in the Jackson Estates neighborhood. They pushed in the first road, then they pushed in the second road, then they pushed in the third road. And pretty soon we were like, we need another way out of this neighborhood. We can't get, there's too many cars driving around that they've got to get in and out of. I just want to make sure that we're not locking the future abilities of this neighborhood to be tied into the existing infrastructure there, because somebody obviously had the wherewithal to put that road extension in years ago, or that proposed road extension in years ago to unlock this parcel. I mean, I go back and don't get me wrong, I don't live in your neighborhood, but I go back and I look and I go, what if Johnson Road was being added to Alexander Road today? Would we have all this fight? What if Johnson Road was the new road today and Alexander Road was there? Would everybody on Alexander Road be here tonight fighting Johnson Road? Because I haven't heard from anybody from Alexander Road. They all connect, correct. That's my point. They all connect eventually. Correct, except for they're at, what is it? Is it Portland? Right? It goes around to Portland there, right? Sure, absolutely, sir. I'm just trying to educate myself a little bit more. Please come up, please give your name and address again for the record.
Tony Marino, 3760 Johnson Road.
Yep.
What you were just saying is, I've been kind of waving my hand back here because I wanted to say the same thing. There's projects going on in the city. I think Peyton Acres is one that eventually is going to be connected.
Correct.
With the development of the Northwoods properties and stuff like that.
That's exactly right.
What we're asking the city to do, and maybe we haven't made it real clear here today, you know, there's already a planned trail system.
Yep.
Through this whole space between Johnson Road and Okerstrom. That's gonna get built, okay? Just like the connections from Peyton Acres on east. What we're just suggesting here is let Jay Zierden build a hammerhead, okay? And when the grant monies come through and they continue the trail, they use the Carlson Road access for that portion of the trail that right now is scheduled to be up on the power, the sewer line that runs from the corner of Portland and Johnson over to Okerstrom. I've looked at the maps and, you know, I mean, I have it on my phone even, but so I think the city's been working on this trail system for a lot of years, and they need the land swap to get the permission to put the trail through that 12-acre outlot that they're getting in exchange for the 2.5-acre. Once they have that, the city can go ahead and get the grants moving, and we can have the trail built north and south up to Engwalls, east and west, hopefully on the Carlson Road to the Johnson, and on the sewer line down to the Okerstrom Road. And with a little forethought, you know, we're talking about maybe a 450-foot section of trail that would be from the Johnson Road to the Hammerhead. Okay, that could be designed maybe to a little bit higher standard than the rest of the trail system so that it would easily accommodate emergency vehicles. You know, the gates that are down there are built so they can have basically shear bolts in them so they could be bumped and opened up, and now you've got your emergency access in. So as some of my neighbors have stated, the Carlson Road has no benefit to the Johnson Road neighborhood. The trail does. The trail adds to it. It also adds to the Alexander Road because many people from the Alexander Road, they walk the loop on a regular basis. They walk it with their dogs. They walk it with strollers. And being a narrow road, that's one of the reasons we don't want the added traffic to it. So we can have a benefit to our neighborhood out of this PUD by putting the trail in a position where it can also serve as an emergency entrance and exit without adding the traffic to the Johnson and Portland roads.
Sure, I fully comprehend that part of it. My question is making sure that the other land around here has access to be tied into your development.
There is no other land.
Nothing at all?
Well,
I mean, in theory, you could buy a couple parcels and put them together.
3730 Okerstrom could sell for some developer and they could put the road through.
Where is that land located?
That'd be straight west of the Carlson Road right away. That right away is still gonna be there. Yeah, but they can sell the house to a developer and they got, looks like 40 acres there.
I'm not understanding where you're talking about because I know the area pretty well. I used to hunt on the land that is adjacent, borders behind all the properties from the Carlson Road easement going north on the southern side. In fact, right behind your the city clerk, whatever her name was, Bonnie.
Bonnie.
Yeah. Her next door neighbor basically owns like 9 or 10 acres. And they bought it for the property. That's the only other property that
the map is there. I'm just saying 3770 has a lot of acreage. They could
got 9 acres.
So you could build 18 lots. You could put a lot of, so
There's a lot of wetland in there too.
I'm just saying that,
Okay, well,
that,
we can save that argument for another day, but.
right. But that
But
right
the
away.
trail,
will be
the
there.
trail will also be there. You know, the trail is designed in there, you know, so it's, like I say, the plan is in place. Jake Perry also mentioned, as far as the cost goes, you know, the city's already in the process of getting grants for all this stuff. And now you're gonna ask, the city's gonna be asking all the taxpayers for a 0.5% sales tax increase for improvements to Fickner Field, an ice sheet, and trails. When all that money is flowing into the city, that trail system could be built probably within a few years, not 5 or 10 or 15 years down the road like it might take for the other project up here. And we could have all of the access for ingress and egress to that development that the city is requiring. So the only difference is this plan came along second.
Sure, I understand that. I just want to make sure that we're not being short-sighted because I've watched lots of developments over the last 10+ years that, like you gave the example of Peyton Acres, that just keep getting extended into the next parcel, and there's usually a way to figure out to make it semi-buildable. I just want to make sure we're not shortcutting ourselves in any shape, form, or fashion. I understand the trail system. I understand the egress. That's why I asked if the hammerhead went in, you could extend the road if it ever needed to be tied in. I understand why you guys don't want it. I comprehend all that stuff. I just don't want to be short-sighted, I guess. Yep.
Okay. Well, I know Thomas or Mike McGuire and his wife that own that land there, and it's also a very unique shape, and it would be.
I'm looking at it right now, yes.
It'd be kind of difficult to put a lot of extra homes, regardless of how you try to juggle things.
Yeah, but there is a road easement going through there, correct?
That Carlson Road easement goes to.
Goes all the way to Okerstrom?
No, it goes to that. Right, goes to that.
Goes to,
property.
it goes right to that property though. Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
And actually, I'd like to provide a point of clarification is a number of people talk about grants with the city. This particular trail segment, I'm 0 for 5. I've applied for grants 5 times to build this trail section and have not received grants. And even the sales tax initiative, that's an unknown entity as well. So when we have the ability to try to create or bite off pieces of these trail systems, we try to do that where we can. And hopefully it's a developer who wants to work with us on those things. So I just want to provide some clarification that the grants they're a hard thing to get.
Yeah, they're not guaranteed money, that's for
No,
sure.
and the problem is too, for instance, we're maybe covering 30% of costs with the grant. Cost of trails now, so.
Eric, do park dedication fees, are they available for trail construction?
They are, but they're available, but they're for everything. I can tell you right now that park dedication, even with hopefully developments like this, bring in 40, 50, 60,000, which is a lot of money. But in the case of a trail system, it only buys you a couple hundred lineal feet. It might buy you a playground. It's a problem. I mean, right now, for instance, Fickner Park, it's potentially millions of dollars. We'll never touch that with park dedication. That you have to try to find other means and methods to secure monies to do these things.
Eric, where does the current trail system, can you just point out on this map where we're trying to get it in and out of this property?
So right now, you can
Okay,
see
yep.
the trail right there in the south. So that, what's envisioned in the trail master plan is it follows Keene Creek roughly through here, gets to the city land at this 2.5 acres. And I believe it was Mr. Marino, one of the people had referenced that there is a 20-foot existing easement on the backside of these lots on Johnson, which goes up to the sewer corridor running through here.
Is there a trail system currently at that sewer corridor?
No, there's not. But that's one of the grant scenarios we had looked at, was providing an east-west trail through here, connecting Okerstrom, connecting Johnson, running down to the south, hooking into this system, and then getting back there. And once again, it's a great idea. Have not received any traction from grant agencies to date. The overall plan then is to get from this point over to our trail over in the Ingwalls property. Whether that's through right of way, whether it's the backside of this development, that's things that staff is going to continue to work on.
And of the existing trails we currently have in the city, how much of that has been footed by developers and how much has come in through grants or the city's allocating money to?
The city received 2 grants. One was
just a percentage.
Percentage?
Keep it
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I don't want to, make it hard on.
Well, it is because there's a number of different funding sources.
But private development, how much has that contributed to our trail system here in Hermantown?
0 so far, because all the trails we built so far have been through public land. This is the first instance where we've had that a trail is going through private land. And so once again, what are the means to try to achieve that? So.
Okay. Well, yeah, I guess just as far as a couple other comments, I want to thank everyone for speaking. Thank the developers, Jay and Buzz. I think it's pretty cool. You guys went back to the neighborhood and figured out a solution and working with the city. However, in preparation for this meeting, I did drive through and I agree the road is tight and the ditches are steep. So I can understand where you guys are coming from. And, that's not your guys' fault. It's a product of the circumstance. And so with that being said, I can live with the hammerhead, although we spent a lot of time trying to avoid those. But I also don't feel that this should fall on the developers to foot the bill for this trail system. It just doesn't seem right to me. It sounds like they're going to have a sidewalk in there. Is that correct?
That is not correct. They are providing an interior sidewalk only for the development. It does not tie into Johnson.
Okay.
It only serves these 29 lots.
Okay. And I guess I could live with that. And in the future, with grant money, as we've done it, it just, to me, doesn't seem right that the developers should have to pay, nor the neighborhood should have to pay. We're kind of in a tight spot and it's unfortunate, but I definitely feel there's a need in the development and I like everything about it. And so I'd be in favor of that. However, I just wouldn't be with demanding that developers pay for that trail system.
Thank you for that, Corey. Commission members, any other thoughts or comments?
I'd like to say it better, but I think Corey said it for me.
I would echo what Corey said and appreciate everything that Tony and Tom and Jim, the word fight came up and I never once did I hear fight. I mean, I saw the community coming together. And I think that's what this whole process is about. So I've got to echo what Corey said there too. I appreciate what everybody in this room has done tonight and has done for last year. It's not just one time. You guys have worked hard and I think there's a very, very good potential alternative here on the table.
Commission members, any other thoughts before we look for a vote?
I guess, yeah, just one more comment, Eric. I appreciate all your time and effort on this. And I just, the comment you made of 100 linear feet is going to cost 50,000. It just, when I look at how big this is, and so that just doesn't quite seem right. And I think there's other ways, as it's been, the sales tax increase that, may or may not go through grant money, and we'll continue to pursue it. But I guess with that being said, if I could make a motion, I might need a little bit of help getting through, just because it's not as stated. But I guess I'd like to make a motion to approve the application of Zierden Builders for the preliminary planned unit development, 8 lots of twin homes, 8 total, 21 single family lots for a total of 29 units on the 33 acres located in the north intersection of Morris Thomas and Okerstrom Road, with the hammerhead, but without the stipulation of putting a trail in.
Thank you for that. We have a first. Can we get a second or a different motion? Your choice.
Thomas, only second. After you, Madam Commissioner.
Go for it.
Okay, well, I would second that motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody object? Motion passes. Thank you for that, Mr. Colquist. Next up is 5E. It's an application by J. Zierden Builders for a preliminary plat for 8 lots of twin homes and 21 single-family lots for a total of 29 lots/units on a 33-acre site located at the northeast intersection of Morris
Okay, I'm
Thomas
gonna
Road.
jump in real quick. I'm sorry. These people are leaving. This goes to city council on
Hi,
June
guys.
6th. So June, the city council is the ultimate board that decides this. This is a recommending board. So just want everyone to know that 6:30 on June 6th.
Thank you.
Sorry, Joe.
Oh, you're welcome. The property is located in R3 zoning district.
Just letting the room thin out a little bit. And
Oh,
then,
it's fine. Thank you. I think I lost my microphone.
That doesn't sound good, does it?
No, it's on. Oh, there's back.
So this is made easier.
Let's do it again.
Yeah, by the vote that you just took, because the plat that was submitted obviously mirrors what P and Z has just recommended. Even though this drawing that was submitted doesn't show that. So what it is it's this plat with the hammerhead. So it would be for the 21 single-family homes, the 8 twin home lots, and the outlot A that contains a stormwater pond, Keens Creek, as well as sanitary sewer. This would not touch then that existing Carlson Road right-of-way that would remain as part of that existing plat. But the city's outlot A would then be incorporated into this overall development. Once again, that's subject to the land swap agreement between the city and the applicant.
Commission members, any questions or comments on this one this evening?
No questions or comments.
I'm concerned or confused on the shrinking of the lots, like he was saying, having it be a half acre. Where did that come into?
Well, that was, the PUD allows that. And this is
Right.
first thing we just voted on was the PUD.
Right.
The PUD allows for essentially lot standards as proposed. So if this came in as a straight plat with I'm sorry, not a plat, but a subdivision, it'd come into the R3 zoning, it would have half acre lots.
Right.
This is just the platting of land to reflect that PUD.
Okay, so that's the difference
Yes, it's still it'll still be a plat at the end of the day.
at the end of the day.
Yep,
not
but it
at this
reflects the
point.
PUD requirements versus the R3 requirements.
But remember too, part of the PUD, there's a lot more acreage than just those lots.
Right.
So by average, there's a lot more than a half acre by lot.
Right.
So that's kind of how the PUD process works. So.
I wanted that to be explained because I think that's important for us to all understand that it's not just we're getting away from the half acre and not utilizing that rule, but there are more square feet to be used, protected in some ways.
Yep, no, and
Can't be developed. there.
exactly. Both yourself and Mr.
Right.
Geisler explained that well. Is essentially this could also be almost called a conservation subdivision.
Right.
There's 29 lots on 36 acres once you include the cities. I mean, that's greater than one house per, I'm sorry. It's each, if you do, it's quick math, it's 1.2 acres per lot.
Right.
So.
So that's where I was just, that's was sort of hanging in the air and I wanted to make sure that we could understand that.
Sure.
Thank you.
Commission members, any other questions or comments before I open up the floor for public comment? Not hearing any. I'm going to open up the floor at 8:47 PM. Would anybody like to come up and speak on this matter this evening? Sir, please come up, state your name and address for the record again.
Sure thing. Joe Pike, 3729 Johnson Road.
Thank you.
I very much appreciate the clarification. Thank you, Eric, and thank you, Beth, for bringing that up. Unfortunately, it kind of doesn't help me.
Right.
If you, can you scroll to the page that shows the drawing with, you know, the boxes for the planned houses in the development? With a few pages down.
It's the one where the road is wrong.
Okay. Yeah, it's the one where the road is wrong, but you can still see the.
Yeah. You can see the buildable area.
So you can see my name up there if you look really close.
Yep, you're in the middle.
You can see the number of houses all packed in like cordwood there in undersized lots that abut my property. That's my concern. It essentially is going to create a big tan wall of identical looking homes that isn't going to be super aesthetically pleasing. That's the part that concerns me. And to your earlier point, Mr. Peterson, about Alexander Road, squawking if Johnson Road were going in today. I think a big difference there, from my perspective anyway, is that this planned development is much, much closer to Johnson Road than Johnson Road is to Alexander Road. There's a greater distance between Alexander and Johnson than there is between Johnson and this development.
I think you're right on that. There's a little bit more in the distance, but you still have back-to-back lots from each road.
But up to 100 feet or more, I would imagine, between structures. Whereas in this case, these structures are, you know, the setbacks are absolutely at the minimum. They're packed in there as tight as it can be. If it's a 40-foot setback, that structure is at the 40-foot line. If it's side to side, you know, 10 feet on each side, that's exactly where the property ends and the structure begins. That's my concern, I guess. I'm happy to see the thing go forward as was just voted upon. And I'm not going to begrudge the developer for wanting to make money on this endeavor. You know, that's his job. I just don't understand how it benefits the city to ensure that the developer makes money on this project when, you know, we're circumventing rules to make that happen for him, I guess. That's my concern. Although it sounds like we're actually not circumventing rules.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, well, I've aired my grievances. I'm happy to see it go forward without the Carlson Road go through, so I'll just be happy and go sit down. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, sir. Would anybody else like to come up and speak? Sir, come on up. Please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, Jim Langdon, 3733 Johnson Road. I'm in that area too, right next to Joe.
Yep.
I don't know where you went to school and learned your math, but the whole project, I don't care if there's 2.5 acres per house if you're using King Creek or whatever. I have 3 lots across the back of my lot now. In your plan there. PUD is designed, I think, to try to keep things the same in the neighborhood. Yes, no, maybe not. I asked this question last time when we were here last year at this time about development in the same size and bit. Never mind, I'm not going to go that way. All I'm going to say is I'm disappointed in this plan because I have 3 lots behind my house now. That's not the same type of building. If you want to say there's more acreage down because of King Creek, that doesn't help me at all. I have 3 neighbors now that I didn't have before. I think your plan isn't proper. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Don't forget, you can also go see the city council in June, Eric?
June 6th, that's correct.
Okay.
And if, actually, I'd just like to point out that each one of these lots is proposed at a 100-foot width.
Yep.
That is the R3, generally, that's the minimum lot width that we have in our R3 zoning. These lots just aren't as deep that you would see under a half-acre scenario. They still have the setbacks associated with it. So in all actuality, you know, if this was a straight up plat, not plat, this an R3 go under standard zoning, it would look just about the same. These lots would be a little deeper,
Right.
but there'd still be a 100 feet marching down. So just to say that the PUD in this case, these are smaller lots that there's 16.5 to 18,000 versus 21,000. Once again, though, but these are 100-foot wide, just like we see in the R3.
And Eric, maybe you could give us a little bit more clarification. I mean, in theory, I mean, you could have something else in here designed, not just single family homes, correct? Could have more duplexes or triplexes.
Under the PUD scenario,
Correct.
yes.
Yes.
Exactly. And that's what you're seeing in this area right here. You can see the boxes, you know, the common wall, 1 building, 2 building, 3 building, 4.
Correct, but in theory, the whole development could be
In
like
theory,
that.
it could, yes,
Yeah.
exactly. That is
Yep.
correct.
You could have 67-foot lots across that.
That is correct.
Right.
I mean, the city, we've approved a PUD that has 5,000 square foot lots.
Yep.
So.
Okay,
and
thank
the
you for
PUD
that.
allows us to set those standards.
Would anybody else like to speak on this matter this evening? If you want to, please come on up, state your name and address for the record. Not seeing any, I'll close the public hearing at 8:53 in the evening. We've got 5E before us. Commission members, any other questions or comments before we look for a motion? I'll look for a motion then, please.
Mr. Chair, I approve, or I move to approve agenda item 5E as stated.
And would that be correct, Eric? That's what we're looking for.
Yes, it is.
Thank you. Can we get a second, please?
Simmons with a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Not hearing any, the motion passes. Moving on to 5F. It's an application by Jay Zierden of Zierden Builders for a special use permit for the grading and filling within a natural shoreline environment shoreland area associated with Keene Creek for the purpose of constructing 6 lots of twin homes and 4 single-family lots for a total of 10 lots / units on a portion of an overall 33-acre site located at the northeast intersection of Morris Thomas Road and Okerstrom Road. The property is located in R3 zoning district. Eric, what do you have for us on this one?
Great, thank you. So if you recall back to almost 2 hours ago, we had almost a similar conversation. So in this case, the blue line at the bottom portion of the screen is Keene Creek. As I talked about previously, there is a 300-foot offset of that on both sides for shoreland area.
Yep.
Now, in the case of this property as well, there's another unnamed tributary that the DNR has basically through their work has identified that parallels Morris Thomas Road. So that 300-foot is set back not only from Keene Creek, but as well from that unnamed tributary. So what you're seeing here, the crosshatched area in green are the number of lots that are affected in this shoreland area. Now, in both cases, they would be able to meet the building setback as well. And then in the same requirements apply as far as the least amount of time possible for disturbed soil, et cetera, that way.
Thank you for that, Eric. Commission members, any questions or comments on 5F this evening? Not hearing any initially, I'll open up the floor for a public hearing at 8:56 in the evening. If anybody would like to come up and speak on 5F this evening, that would be wonderful. Not seeing any, we'll close the public hearing at 8:56 in the evening as well. Commission members, any last comments or questions on 5F? Not hearing any, I look for a motion, please.
Thomasoni moves to approve 5F as stated.
Thank you very much. Can we get a second?
Colquist with a second.
Thank you for that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Moving on. Number 6, continuing business. Eric, do we have anything on that this evening?
No continuing business.
Number 7, new business. Anything on that this evening?
Yep, I'm not gonna let you off that easy.
Come on.
So the city is in the process of going through our community why I'm blanking now. It's been a long night. Comprehensive plan process. The city has received 4 applications from different planning firms. As part of that, there's going to be twofold there'll be we're discussing internally, at least the interview process, how many outside people are we going to utilize for that, members of P&Z, members of city council. We're still trying to figure that out. But for sure, there's going to be, for lack of better words, a steering committee. Once the consultant is chosen. So we're looking at probably upwards of maybe 10 people total. And I could see from at least this board that there could be 1 or 2 people to basically serve in that steering committee here as well. So this is a little bit in its infancy. We've not identified total numbers yet, but I just want to, give everybody that quick update that probably at our June meeting, we'd be looking at 1 or 2 of you to potentially volunteer to be on that committee as well.
Thank you for that, Eric. Number 8, communications. Do we have anything that I'm not aware of?
No, there's none.
Thank you for that. Number 9, commission member reports. Myself, I have nothing. Corey Colquist,
No report.
Valerie Rolette,
No report.
Samuel Clark,
No report.
Beth Wenslaw,
No report.
Buckley Simmons,
No report.
Dante Tomasani,
No report.
and Counselor Geisler.
Well, some people call the Planning and Zoning Commission the junior city council. So if you want to step up to the next level, there are two positions up for vote on the city council this fall. I know one will not be running at all. She's moving. The other one I don't believe is going to be. So I think there's going to be 2 open seats. What's weird is that the vote is in November, but the filing period is right now from the 17th to the 31st. So if you're interested, you can come talk to the city clerk. Inflation hits everything. It used to be $2. Now it's $5. So if anybody wants to do it, I bet you could break your piggy bank, get the $5, and Dwayne Hoppinen paid for my $2 the first time. So
Did he really?
He did, yeah. Anyways, but so the filing period is open through the 31st. If you're interested or know of anybody, the city clerk can get that paperwork taken care of. So that's it.
Thank you for that. Really appreciate it. I look for a motion to adjourn.
Simmons with a motion to adjourn.
Can I get a second?
Second. Winslow.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourns at 9 o'clock in the evening. Thank you very much, everybody.
Shorter than what I thought.